Hey guys, Wex with Ironman 4x4. First of all, thanks for clicking in on the video. We sure appreciate it. I'm gonna help you get this Raid rear bumper installed on your Bronco. So first things first, let's get all of our parts laid out, make sure we have everything, kind of a quick inventory. We're gonna grab some tools, you go grab yours, and I'll meet you back here, we'll start wrenching. All right, we gotta get this spare tire out of the way. So if you've got stock lug nuts, grab a 19 and an extension, and we'll get these zipped off. All right, let's get our electronics unhooked. You're gonna have a wire harness clip right here and one right here. And it's back up in here in this corner. It's kind of hard to see. And it might be easier to get at this if you take a little clip removal tool, and we will wedge this little Christmas tree plug out. There you go. And now you can actually get to it. And on the top side, you can just press down that little tab. There you go, and it pops out. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Now the cool thing about these Broncos are this whole rear bumper is just a shell that bolts on kind of to the frame. So we need to pull these two 19s on these recovery points here and here. And then you've got a 13 right back here that we'll pull on this side and that side. I'll start with the 13s. Now I'm gonna grab a 19 and we'll pull these recovery point bolts off. And we'll get this other side, and I'm gonna keep a hand braced on here because once we pull these, the whole shell's gonna wanna come out. All right, my bro Zach's gonna help me take this off, but before we do, we're gonna grab this recovery point here, and there's a plastic retainer, kind of like a Christmas tree plug. It keeps these things on, so I think you can just pull right down. We'll set those down there. And then we can just lift up over and wiggle it out. Cool, thanks dudes. All right, bumper's off. Now we gotta gut this fish because we gotta get all the wire harnesses out of our OEM bumper shell and put into the Ironman 4x4 Raid bumper. So I'll start on the side here. I'm just using my clip removal tool and pulling these through. I find it works better if you can actually get on the backside and pry them through, but you can try to push the plugs through if you can't get to it from the underside. But I think if you try to smash these through, a lot of times you'll damage them. So they seem to do better if you can kind of pull them through. But this one, like, how am I gonna get to that? So I'm just smash it through. Okay, so that's through. Now the other thing is we gotta make sure that we're keeping this wire harness in the correct orientation. And it can get confusing because you've got similar plugs on the left and the right hand side. So you can take a paint pen or a piece of tape, but I would mark the outsides of this wire harness with passenger and driver, just so you don't get confused. That's too dark, we need some light. Light! Nailed it. Okay, I'll show you how to get these parking sensors out. It's real easy. You've got a tab on the top and on the bottom, and there's a little barb there. So on the top tab, just pull back, not too hard because you don't want to break it. And with your other hand, you just want to wiggle the sensor. So I'm just moving that out to get the barb out, and then you can go for the bottom one, and you just wiggle them, and then the whole thing comes out. If you're not confident with that, you can always push on the tab right here on this plug, and that wire connector will come out like this. There we go. I'm gonna keep that hooked together just so I don't lose it. And then we will keep kind of fishing everything through. Before I do that, I'm gonna unhook this little plug right here for the license plate light. If I can get that to come out. That one is tight for spacing. And then this, you just depress that little tab on the connector. We'll rock it out. So that's gonna be that. Now we've got the inside parking sensor for the passenger side. Cool, so that is there. Pop that tab back. And now we've worked down here to the driver's side. In the concern of safety, I don't want anybody damaging their wire harness because this thing is gonna be super expensive to replace. So I'm just gonna undo this plate. It's these 513s. I'm just gonna unzip them real fast. 5, see, that didn't take any time. You can take that plate out, and then we know we're not gonna hurt our super expensive wire harness. How responsible of us. Cool, that side's out. Same thing over here. Awesome. So I'm gonna leave that just like it came out. And since we've got this center plate off, it's a good time to go ahead and pop out your license plate light because we have access. So it's these little tabs, one on the top, one on the bottom. You just gently want to push them down, and then that will press out through the front side of the bumpus, just like that, because we need that light. We got to relocate it. Sorry, buddy, time for a new home. All right, so we got the Raid rear bumper shell up on the table. Now is a great time if you're gonna put in your Ironman 4x4 light pods. Go ahead and do that now. All right, take your parking sensor. We'll clean it up here. That is clean. We're gonna take one of these rubber bumper deals and just peel it away. It's got an adhesive backing on it, and that is gonna go right here. Okay, we've got that. Then you're gonna take one of these caps and one of these little, I don't know, kind of looks like a watermelon, a little foamy gray watermelon. And I push it down and take that center little plug thing out, peel the adhesive off, take your cap, and it sets in there just like that, right? Pretty straightforward. Take your parking sensor plug. Now this needs to have the connector side facing towards the outside so that the wiring doesn't hit the housing for our pod light. Push that down in there like so. And then you're gonna take this guy and it clips down and basically smooshes all together and push till both sides click in there. And that thing is held in place. You can look underneath and make sure that your parking sensor is centered in the little cutout there. And that's it. So we're gonna do that same process on all the other 3 that we have to do. So you're gonna have to feed your wire harness through these cutouts for your cable management, but you can just unhook your parking sensors. It makes it pretty easy to get everything walked through and locked down where it needs to be. That goes there, that one goes down. Cool, that's nice and tight. I'm gonna sneak that up over the top. All this we'll push down in here. We'll take cable ties or zip ties, get that all tidied up. And then same thing over here. I need to refish this through. So I'll start with this outside connector. Hook that back up. Sweet. Okay, that's all in place. Now, one other thing I wanted to add. Ironman 4x4 has so graciously included these extension wire harnesses. So if for some reason you run out of wire harness and you need to hook up to one of your parking sensors, these are gonna give you a lot of extra room to play around. So I've got my cable management all done. I zip tied up to all these little locations here, so this is out of the way. It won't get damaged or pinched when we go to reinstall it. Now we've got the 2 parking extension harnesses that I showed you, but there's a third one that's like really long. It's actually not for a parking sensor, it's for your rear license plate light. Now we're going to relocate that into this bracket, and this will fit on our spare tire carrier right there, but we've got to extend the wire, so that's what this harness is for. So before we get going down the road any further, I'm going to take this extension, I'm going to plug it into the original harness right here at this point, and then you can just kind of double check, make sure it fits in your light. And then that eventually will fit right in there. So I've got that plugged in, we'll let that hang out. I just don't want to lose any of those parts. Now I guess we can jump to the little gravel guard protection plates for our light pods and our exterior outer parking sensors. So the way this works is you want to feed that pigtail right through there. And this one, we're actually not gonna feed any wires through it. We're just gonna have it sit there like that. This will run up to the original connector on the harness side of the truck. Then we're gonna grab some of this smaller M8 hardware right here. So it's got the encapsulated washers on it. And then you've got a serrated nut. And then what we'll do is we'll put the nut on the downside, and because it's serrated, as long as you get it finger tight, then you don't have to actually get a wrench on it. As you tighten down the bolt head, it'll grab and bite into the powder coat, and it'll just spin, lock down on its own. Cool, that's set. I'll get the outside one. And once we get these guys locked down, it's just gonna be the same thing on the other side. What should I do next? We. I mean, obviously we're doing this together. What do you wanna do? Let's do these brackets. This bracket is stamped with an R for pirates, or the right side. And this bracket's stamped L, that's for left. These are chassis or chassis reinforcement brackets. So you take it like that, set it right in here, and you want to align these two threaded nuts right there and there in those holes. We'll do the same thing over on the other side. And that's pretty much that. So let's get the shell, get this thing hung. All right, now we're ready to get this bumper hung. Thanks for the help there, Jordan. So let's just go up and over, and I think we can get it to just kind of rest on the frame. This should go over the hitch though. Let's rock it forward just a little more. So after you get the bumper shell hung up over the hitch, it's gonna kind of sit there for you, and then getting these 16mm bolts in from the side takes a little bit of kind of wiggling around. I start with the top, feed it through, catch a few threads, and then for the bottom, you're just gonna kind of wiggle it back and forth, because again, you're going recovery point into the bumper shell mount into that threaded nut plate that we put inside the frame rail. So if you can get it to just kind of snag, then you can put your socket on it. There we go. Just get it to spin down a little bit. You want to leave it a little bit loose, because then we can adjust it with the body so all of our clearances line up. And then we're going to grab our hardware that goes right up in here from the bottom of the recovery point. Alrighty, so check both sides for alignment. The bumper shell with your body, you want to make sure it's even, and there's quite a bit of adjustment, so you can either have, you know, the deck down or up, or kind of in or out, however you want it. Also double check that all your wire harnesses aren't in the way and aren't going to get pinched. And then once you have that, the 18s that we put in underneath the recovery points, we're just going to slowly start tightening everything down. Yeah, see, and it moved up quite a bit. All right. Now I'm going to tighten these 16s out on the side. All right, we've got the rear bumper on the Bronco. Now we need to start thinking about how we're gonna route our license plate light relocate wire harness, because you don't want to just plug it in. It needs to basically follow the factory wiring, so as the door swings open, everything works properly and doesn't get caught up. So what I've done is I've taken our harness, I've plugged it in down here behind the bumper. I'm gonna route it along the top underside of the bumper deck. I'm gonna feed this extra slack through here. I'm gonna go underneath this bracket for the hinge. And I'm gonna feed it back up through here on this side. So now that I've got that, I'll pull all this slack through. So with this all hanging down here, we're gonna undo this tin and that tin, and we're gonna pull this panel up with a body panel tool, and we're gonna run this wire harness up on the inside here. We have room, and then it'll kick out here. We'll zip tie it to our factory harness, pop this plate, run it through, out the door, up to the license plate relocate kit. So I've grabbed a 10mm socket, and we're gonna loosen off this 10 mil bolt down here. I'll spin that out, and this 10 mil bolt up here. Oh, and if you forgot how to get to King of Hammers, there's your directions right there. Yeah, Ford, kind of cool little Easter egg. Now this panel is held in by those two tins that we just removed, but it's also held in place by these little plastic pop-up clips that Ford puts in. Ford considers these things non-serviceable items, so if you try to pop these out, you'll probably break them and not be able to replace them. I do not want to go down that road, but I don't think we have to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these body panel tools and I'm going to start down here. I'm just going to get my finger behind this. And this is hard plastic, but it's got this soft gasket around it. So I am going to just get this tool here. And the other trick too is you can also take a rag with some WD-40 and you can wipe WD-40 in here, and that'll keep you from tearing anything. But if you go slow, you don't really need to. So I've got my wire here. I'm gonna get this loom behind, but I'm just gonna slowly open up that gasket and then feed that wire loom back behind there. And I'm just going slow. I don't want to tear that rubber. And as I feed that back up in there, I'm going to go all the way up till I get to where the factory wire harness is right here. I'm just going to kind of leave that in place. And I'm going to go back down here and adjust, because I want to make sure that loom is underneath the hinge behind this plastic. And I'm going to run a zip tie right here. And I'll do the same thing up here. All right, I've got it zip tied against the factory wire harness here. Now, one thing you'll notice is the factory wire harness, it goes from the inside of the weather stripping and stays on the inside when the door closes. So when we close our door, it will pinch this loom against the weather stripping, but the weather stripping is really, really thick, and I think this is a lot safer way of doing it to keep everything watertight than trying to drill a hole through the body panel on the inside of the Bronco. So again, there's multiple ways you can do this, however you want to do it. This is just the way that we found is the least invasive and will hopefully keep all of our weatherproofing together. So we've done that. I'm going to go ahead and get these 10 mils locked back into place here and here. Then we can pull this panel off and I'll show you how to reroute the rest of the cable. All right, let's get this inner panel popped out. It's just held on by clips. You can start on the left-hand side, work your way along the top, and just kind of want to push down. There we go. And then these clips underneath pop out. There you go. So as you pop the bottom ones out, these are clips, and then these are just little 90 plastic hooks that kind of hook in like that. So I guess pop the bottom first and then slide that out. We'll set that aside, and then you can see here, we will just continue to zip tie this along here, and we'll work it out through that big grommet out towards the tire carrier. All right, we got to get this access hatch off here. So I'm just going to go underneath. There you go. Give it a little twist. Clips pop out. Sweet, that's what it looks like on the back side. So you've got those 90 hooks on the right, and you've got 3 clips on the left. So you can start on the left, pop that side out. Now this is the big rubber grommet that goes out to right here, and that is the camera cable. All right, let's feed this right through here. You can grab it with your other hand. We'll pull that through. I'm gonna let that hang. Grab a little tool. This is that main kind of firewall rubber grommet pass through. So you've got a little clip here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So you just kind of wanna, as you push the clip in on the one side, press to keep it down. I'll do the top, the bottom, and that just pushes through like that. Ta-da! All right, so that's popped through that side. So I'm gonna take our wire harness, feed it through here, Now look, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can run a slit through the grommet if you want. You can try to, cut this and just run the wire through the factory. But I think what makes the most sense, and that's the least invasive, is I'm gonna peel that back away from this little housing, and I'm gonna run this right through there. Just like that. And if you're gonna kind of follow the way I'm doing it, run it down on the bottom, because we'll peel this grommet back over its housing, but I want this wire harness coming out on the bottom so that if it does, when it gets water on it, it's raining out or you're washing your truck, then the water, you'll get no egress into this rear door panel. It'll all just keep leaking out the bottom. Just like that. Press it back in. Yep, that's gonna work. And I think you're good. The other thing too is we're gonna put the spare tire back on here, and then we're gonna route this cable up and through one of the spokes to the license plate light. But if you need to take your spare tire off, you're gonna have to unhook all this anyways. So routing it all up and through here might make it more difficult for you, especially if it's an emergency and you've got to swap out a spare tire quickly. So I'm gonna leave it like this. I think it makes the most sense. If you want to do it different, go for it. Post a picture in the comment below. I'd love to see how you come up with it, but I think this is how I'm gonna do it. All right, let's get this spare tire back up and on. All right, now grab these two lugs that say M12 on them. What these guys are is they're extensions. They're lug extensions. So you're gonna run one here, and you're gonna run one here. And then if you want, you can still run this third lug nut down here. Just like that. All right, let's tighten this down. And then we'll grab an 18 and we'll tighten these guys down. So don't forget that these are an 18 and your factory lug's a 19. So make sure in your kit, if you need to remove a spare tire or replace a tire, you wanna make sure you've got an 18 in your kit with you so that you can get that off. Now we need to feed our wire harness back through. So I'm kind of starting up here at about 10 o'clock. I'm gonna just kind of feed it right down. So I'm kind of putting it on the wheel mount right there just until I can get my hand in. We've got quite a bit of slack, which is nice too. So that's gonna hang there. Then we'll grab our license plate, relocate bracket, and our factory license plate light. We're gonna feed that through, and it just snaps right into place. That is awesome. Let me grab a couple bolts. All right, we've got two of these, split washer, lock washer, and a bolt. These are 18 millimeter head bolts. So we'll get those hand tied on, just like that. And then I'm gonna take my license plate light wire harness and plug it right into the back of that factory light, push the little safety in, and that's in there. Now, we'll tighten this down. We've got two of these little spring clip certs that go in here. So I'm gonna start with the bottom. You just push them down. They snap into place. Cool, that's all set up. Now, don't forget, we still need to go back underneath the bumper and tie up all of our loose wire harnesses, so don't forget to do that. All right, we gotta get these put back in place. That just slides in there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, truck's back in the air. Let's hook up our main harnesses again. This is gonna go like that. Make sure you have a good positive click and that they don't pull back out, because they get a bunch of dirt and debris in there, and you don't want that. Cool, same thing on the other side. Yep, good positive click. Sweet. Hey, Hey, another good reminder, make sure to take your truck out and test all of your backup parking sensors on it. You can always put it in reverse and have a buddy kind of walk back and forth behind it slowly just to make sure everything's picking up correctly. Also, because these are held in place by those caps with that foam pressure plate on there, you can always push them in and readjust them. I kind of go back through and make sure I've got them all centered up perfectly and everything is working great. So that's it. This Raid bumper on these new Broncos looks so sick. You've got a great design. It works with your hitch. It has true full rated recovery points that bolt directly to the frame of the Bronco. So it's the best, strongest place you can recover from. Just want to say thank you for tuning into the video. We love helping you guys out on these installs. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, reach out to us. And if you want to pick one of these bumpers up, go check it out at Ironman 4x4America.com and we'll help you over there.